The Royals
Fun.
are in the playoffs, so we gotta crank it up, man. Gotta keep with it. It's
Well, good
it is.
luck.
It's been yeah. It's a hey man, win lose, life goes on. But no, it's it's I don't know. I don't mind baseball. I just think it's like it's kind of a lot, you know. It's like 160 games or whatever.
Way too many.
Yeah, you can lose like half of them and still be doing great. It's like
Yeah.
I just I don't know. I don't know how people yeah.
It's kind of my
So
issue with all sports other than football, and maybe it speaks to why, or like me just falling in love with football first, and then it's like even hockey and basketball. There's so many games. It feels like they're kind of meaningless until the playoffs.
yeah. No, I think the potency you get in the NFL and just like the intensity and the
Hmm.
variability, it's like I don't know, something about like hockey and soccer and all that, like the
Hmm.
continuous play kind of dulls the whole thing down. Like you have to really be paying attention.
Yeah.
Football, it's like it's so compartmentalized. It's like, hey, like, this is it. Like we're telling you down in distance, like where they're at on the field, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty good setup compared
Yeah.
to like
Other
I don't know.
sports. Yeah.
Somebody
And even
ball
like
strike. He's gonna
like
swing at it. It's a
Premier
strike.
League soccer, how it's just a point system and there's not like a playoff at the end. So it's like conceivably somebody you already know who's going to win the championship like months before, like depending on how good. I don't know. It just seems like yeah. I'm with you. It's a good system they've invented.
Yeah. Say NASCAR has a good system too. No, I'm just joking. Just joking. Their playoffs is interesting. That's pretty cool. But
Yeah, I think it's
it's
gotten a lot more interesting, but also who
yeah.
cares about people driving in a circle forever?
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun?
Welcome back, everybody. We are Road Trip Research. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for Dynasty Domination. How's it going over there, Daniel?
Pretty good, dude. Pretty good. I'm spending my October as a half-hearted baseball fan. So
Mm,
go Royals. Other than that, I can't complain, man.
nice.
Chiefs are 5-0. My fantasy's doing great, and I'm addicted to guillotine fantasy leagues.
Hmm.
So, how are you doing, Christian?
Doing pretty good. I need to try one of those myself.
Yeah,
I'm a
next
bit
year you'll be in
tired.
like 12 of them with me.
Okay, sounds good. I gotta knock off some of these other. I promise next year I will not be in 9 different leagues, but here we are. I'm a bit tired. School is in full swing. I've been working a lot. So even today, as you'll notice, the pod's a little shorter. That's because of me, not Daniel. Daniel was ready. I was not. So
Never ready.
if
Always
you're
ready.
if you're gonna point the blame, point it at me. But I'm doing all right. But speaking of fantasy, how am I gonna lose in 2 of our dynasty leagues together while
Hmm.
scoring the third highest points in the league? 2 different ones.
Oh,
What
we're
is
doing this?
what's
This is what
that?
we're talking about?
I'm just pissed. The D League
Yeah.
and roasted.
Dude, I got my redraft, the big oldest one. Going into last week, I was number one in points by 120 points at sixth place, two and
Damn.
two.
Hell
So I'm
yeah.
glad that I got a win by outscoring the entire league by like 80 points. So all this while taking Trey McBride and DJ Moore instead of Derrick Henry at the 3-4 turn. So I'm just chilling. Fantasy
Hey
is
man.
pain. You got to live it and love it.
It's true. Although I will say roasted, I'm not that mad about because that's been my worst league for like 4 years running now. And so like to be 3-2 in that league is a godsend for me. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with it, but it was
Oh,
just
yeah.
frustrating. It is pain.
Yeah. Shimmy got you on that last week.
He did. Also for the belt, this week was my first win since week 6. of last year. So
At
the
least you got
tank.
Marvin Harrison Jr. out of it, right?
Oh yeah, at
Oh,
least I did. Yeah.
traded. Oh,
Fuck's sake. That was bad.
come
Bad
on.
times. Bad times. But we are the rebuild is on its way, so we'll see how it works out. But that's not what we're here to talk about. It was
Nope,
fun, but we're here
did
to
enjoy
talk
it.
about a little rookies rounding them up and some box score boomers, but also some ADP versus reality talk. We'll get into that a little bit later, but obviously we are going to start where we always do during the season, which is the rookie roundup. So not a lot to add for the injured slash inactive people, so I'm just going to skip that one. The clear backups are as followed: Jermaine Burton, Corley, Ben Sinnott, Michael Penix, Drake May, who next week will be starting. So he will move
Ooh.
on down, and we will see how Drake May looks. But as of now, he's still there. Troy Franklin, Javon Baker, Sion Vakai, Trey Benson, Jalen McMillan, Jalen Polk, Adonai Mitchell, Jatavion Sanders, Ray Davis, Theo Johnson, Carson Steele, Luke McCaffrey, and AJ Barner. So we had a few people get to move out of this section this week with some little bit of performances under some injury news. So we'll get into them in a bit. But I have a new category for us, and it's the what the fuck category.
Yeah.
And there's one guy in it, and it's Roman Wilson.
What the
Because
fuck,
what the
Roman?
fuck? He was hurt. He was in the injured reserve, and now for 3 straight weeks he's been a healthy scratch. I don't know if people have been aware of this. We haven't talked about it, but like, what is the deal for an offense that can't get moving? Feels like it needs a clear number two wide receiver, and now Roman Wilson, who you took in the third round, is healthy, and you're just not
Not
playing.
interested.
So is he that bad? Is he awful in practice? Are they just doing the whole silly like rookies have to earn their spot type shit? I'm not sure, but I just wanted to address that this week. But let's get on to some more promising stuff in the promising usage category. Tyrone Tracy makes his first appearance here.
Yeah.
14 points this week, starting for an injured David Singletary. 18 attempts for 129 yards, which is pretty damn impressive. And the wide receiver convert not getting any targets, which is weird. You know, two targets, one reception, 1 yard. So it's a bit weird, but I mean, 129 yards on 18 carries is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, that was great to see that, man. I mean, it's bad news for Singletary, man. This is not what you wanted to see happen,
It
but
is not.
I mean, man, we're all
But
big
hey,
fans of it.
Singletary's been pretty good this year too, so we'll see how he comes back, and maybe that'll have a more of a dual threat attack there. Jalen Wright also gets to move up,
Oh
starting
yeah.
for an injured, or not starting, but coming in for an injured Devon Achan. We'll see how that works out. But 9 points, he actually led the Dolphins in rushing. 13 attempts for 86 yards, 6.6 yards per carry. So, I love to see that. Hopefully, he'll get some more work. Not that I hope Achan stays out for long, but it would be nice to see Jalen Wright. Bucky Irving has been getting an increase in snaps, but not really producing the points. 6 points this week, 9 attempts, 44 yards, which is good. But we'll see how that room goes forward. Right now, it seems like they're a pretty even split, and it's kind of hurting both their values more than helping either one of them. So we'll see how that room starts to shake out. Braylon Allen still on the field a lot. Well, actually, not this week, 26% of the snaps. But the Jets could not run the ball at all against the Vikings. He only had 5 attempts for 13 yards, and Brees Hall also had a terrible game. So we'll see how that shakes out. Now that they fired Robert Saleh, obviously he didn't run the offense, but you'd
Oh,
expect some kind of changes going on. And yeah, that was bananas. Um,
I'm for it.
Yeah, they needed to shake things up. Maybe he got scapegoated a little bit considering how good their defense was, but it is what it is. Moving on to some wide receivers, we got Keon Coleman, 12 points. It's pretty crazy. Or I don't think he had 12 points because it looks like he had one target or one reception for 49 yards, unless I didn't change that this week. It looks like I might have missed that.
He had 12 points. It was a 50-yard touchdown catch.
Okay, that's what it was. I didn't add the touchdown. Okay, so one catch, 49 yards, but for a touchdown. So that is good to see, but you want to see the production go up a little more on 5 targets. But hey, got a long touchdown. Jordan Whittington,
Yeah.
16 points, 92% of the snap shares, 7 catches, 89 yards. So I think he'll still disappear into obscurity once Cup and Puka Nacua come back, but we have no idea when that's happening. So for right now, he's in real promising usage territory, and it seems like whoever is Sean McVay's PPR pepper target is just always going to be awesome for us, whether it's Nakua, Cup, Whittington, whoever it is. You just got to figure out who that guy is ahead of time.
Yeah.
Xavier Legette went down with a shoulder injury after his first catch for 8 yards, which led to Jalen Coker out of Holy Cross coming out and catching 4 targets, 4 receptions for 68 yards, which was pretty fun. I believe he was a Rough Draft Research March Madness bracket like finalist, like not didn't make the bracket, but he was like in the final list of the 64. So pretty interesting to see him get there. That's fun. Lad McConkey was on a bye.
Yep.
Xavier Worthy had 12 points off 1 rushing touchdown, but the inefficiency through the passing game is still glaring here. 6 targets, 3 catches, only 25 yards. They just really need to get him kind of more consistently going. But that was, I think, both of our fears going into the year is that that was kind of his issue. But we'll see how he works out there. Moving on, Theo Johnson finally had a big game. I think I actually, yep, I called him a
Yeah.
clear backup and I forgot to take him out because he's not. He had 10 points this week, 5 targets, 5 receptions, 48 yards. So you're looking pretty good there. While the Giants actually had a really, really good offensive showing without Malik Neighbors, which was weird.
That was weird.
And then we had Eric All as our last promising usage guy. Only 3 points, 52% of the snaps,
What
two
are you gonna do?
catches, 10 yards. He's probably going to have to fall back into clear backups next week if he has another disappointing performance. But it was fun while it lasted. Um, so moving on to the big boys, the promising studs, and these names you'll see, you'll keep hearing, and you're going to see Romo Dunze
Steadily.
potentially needs to get moved back down into usage. But 6 targets, 5 receptions, 40 yards. He's on the field for 80% of the snaps. And the Bears offense does seem like it's starting to heat up and get a little more consistent. So it is good to see him do a little bit, but you'd like to see more. You don't need to see more out of Brian Thomas Jr. though.
Oh, I
23
would love
points.
to see more.
That's fair, but you don't need to see more to call him a stud, that's for sure. 23 points, 64% of the snaps, 8 targets, 5 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown. He reached 22 miles an hour on that touchdown, which is just pretty crazy. Malik Neighbors, unfortunately, was out with a concussion. Kind of mentioned that earlier. Marvin Harrison Jr. had a pretty quiet game, 7 targets for 2 catches, 36 yards. So you want to see that, especially in a game where they won. It was just kind of weird that he wasn't more involved. I believe they won, right? Didn't they beat the Niners?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in a game they won, you'd like to see Marvin Harrison do a little more. And then we had Brock Bowers scoring his first touchdown of the year. It was a long one, like 40 something yards. He had 24 points to end the week. 12 targets, 8 receptions, 97 yards, benefiting hugely from Devontae Adams not being on the field, which
Not
seems
being
like
on that team.
that's gonna be the standard going forward because Devontae Adams seems like he's gonna get traded. So those are
Sitting on a
your
jet.
he's gonna, yeah, the most foregone conclusion on earth, right? It's pretty
Apparently.
wild. Let's talk some quarterbacks real quick before we get into the meat of this episode. Jaden Daniels continues to look good. 20 points, not as good of a completion percentage this time, 14 to 25, but had a touchdown and had another game where he rushed the ball at least 10 times for 82 yards. So he just continues to do things. We're going to talk about him in a bit. Caleb Williams had one of his best games, 20 of 29 for 304 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks. So that is what you wanted to kind of see better out of Caleb Williams. And then Bo Nix, also 23 points this week, 206 yards, two touchdowns through the air, and a touchdown on the ground, which is his third of the year, which is pretty good
Yeah,
for five
bud.
games. So maybe I am wrong. I'm not, but maybe I am about Bo Nix. We will see.
Yeah, you're definitely wrong about Bo Nix. Nah, dude, that shit cracks me up. It's quarterback 8 on the week.
Pretty wild.
It's not sustainable, but I definitely am in a super flex redraft, and I picked him up dropping Will Levis. So
Hey,
people
makes
will people
sense.
need to pay attention. Pay attention, watch the moves. But man, yeah, it was a great week for rookies. You think I'm trying to wonder if Brian Thomas's success can lead to Jaguar success because boy, they need it. Can't believe they beat the Colts. It was a nail biter. And what's up with Keon Coleman? Are we calling him Gabe Davis Jr.? The dude's got like 9 catches and 4 touchdowns or some crap like that. Just some Gabe Davis stuff all over again. We need
Josh
an
Allen needs that
alpha in the
guy.
house.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Well, with Shakir out, I think it kind of threw them off too.
yeah, these 1 catches, 1 touchdown games. It's just like that's not what we're doing. That's
That's
not what
not what
he's
we
here
want.
for.
Mm-mm.
No. I mean, that's not a secret to success. It is what it is. But now the rookies are heating up, dude. They're really they're getting in the ruts, which is like, not always a bad thing. They're wearing in their walking paths and they know what's up now. So it's pretty exciting. I've been enjoying it. But you got to think about the world as a whole. You have to think about assumptions and you have to think about surprises, disappointments. You have to think about reality. And that's what we're here to do today. We're going to get into the ADP versus reality conversation.
Mhm.
This is a conversation we have every season, periodically, and definitely to recap. But we're getting in our first big chunk after 5 weeks. And here's how it works, everybody. We basically just look at the guys, top 12 drafted and see if they're holding up, the value. Uh, Spoiler alert, it's not 12 for 12. There's a lot of people that are letting us down. And we got to know who is making up for that void. So that's basically what our take on it is. I've got the quarterbacks up first. So I do have to say, statistically, I'm using like Fantasy Pros for the ADP.
Hmm.
That's just pretty much what I'm going to do every time. But when I'm looking at these rankings, as far as like the reality version of it, I'm doing points per game and really just among players with 4 or 5 games played, it just kind of weighs out the bye week for the couple of teams that had a week 5 bye and just standardizes the comparison. So as we go through, we'll talk about a few guys that have missed time. And when I talk about those players, I'm going to speak about them as a per game points with no limit on the number of games played. And a prime example, just to get into it with the quarterbacks, is we're looking at 8 of the top 12 drafted guys are in the top 12 as far as like reality, as far as
Hmm.
actual fantasy points per game. But one of those guys, Jordan Love, is not. And the reason for that is because he's missed time, he's had injury.
Hmm.
But when you look at his points per game, he is actually fourth. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, but it's a asterisk on that fourth because the real number 4 in points per game is Joe Burrow because he's
Hmm.
totaling up. So that's just an example. There's a few of them in here. We'll go through them as we go, but I'll just list off your reality guys right now. So Lamar Jackson's a QB1 on the year,
Yep.
uh, followed by Jaden Daniels.
Mm.
So Jaden Daniels, he was ADP 12. Lamar was 4. So a little bit of jump for both these guys doing pretty well. Baker Mayfield's at 3.
Mm.
So that's exciting. Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Geno Smith, Justin Fields,
Wow.
Dak Prescott. Yeah, Dak's number 9. Jalen Hurts at 10. Sam Darnold at 11. And then CJ Stroud is at number 12. So
Yeah.
um, that's just a little bit to get into it. Let's go ahead and talk about like so 8 guys in the top 12 are still doing it. Let's talk about the 4 guys that were drafted top 12 that aren't
Hmm.
actually performing at that level. You've got Brock Purdy, ADP 11. He's at 13 right now.
That's not too
So
far.
yeah, you can't really, that's just flying under the radar. Already mentioned Jordan Love missing time. He was the 9th drafted quarterback. But then, like, if you go to the top of the list, you got Patrick Mahomes, who is
Mm.
ADP number 2. No surprise there, but right now he's ranking out at 18th.
Ah.
So you got to look at a couple of things. If you ask me personally, I think, Travis Kelsey being a little bit of a down year. And then, obviously Rasheed Rice, and then whatever they were going to do with Hollywood Brown, it just hasn't added up. This offense
Mhm.
isn't functioning the way it was intended to, the way we assumed it was. So he's a little disappointing. Obviously, not having Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator is hurting this team in a major way. People aren't talking about it, but Matt Nagy, whatever, not a huge fan. Moving right along, Anthony Richardson
Yeah.
coming in at number 24. We've talked about him a little bit.
Hmm.
6 picks, not really
He's
got
not
too
playing
much
well.
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And then
and then got
missing
hurt.
time.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it is what it is. So we are still holding out hope for him.
Hmm.
But the 4 players that are, in the top 12 that weren't drafted that way, we've gone through the list. But if you look at it, man, it's really guys that we didn't believe in, that we should have believed in,
Hmm.
that we could have believed in. So I'll start with Geno Smith. He right now is the quarterback 7. He was drafted as a quarterback 24. And last year, he was a quarterback 19 to finish in 2022, quarterback 5.
Mm.
So there's a chance that with the Washington Huskies OC, just like the air ball offense, that we probably could have, should have been a little higher on him. He's got
Hmm.
offensive weapons that are pretty spectacular, really.
Yeah.
It's that wide receiver room. So there's that. And then same story, really. Quarterback 3, Baker Mayfield. What are we doing? Coming off a QB 10 year, like
Hmm.
boom, Dave Canales. He was the only reason that guy was successful, right?
Guess
Absolutely
not.
not, man. Guy named Chris Godwin, guy named Mike Evans. Like,
Hmm.
what are we talking about? So, should have believed in him
Hmm.
and left for dead, completely left for dead. Justin Fields, quarterback 8. Last year, he's a quarterback 18 with zero help, zero hope. Like I said, completely left for dead. 2022, he was a QB 7. So, unlike Geno and Mayfield, we don't know when the party's over for Fields.
Hmm.
But right now, I think you got to press your bets because he's playing pretty well. Not like dynamically for the
Hmm.
Pittsburgh
Not for the
Steelers
Steelers, but for
success.
fantasy.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. So that's what we're here for. And then you got Sam Darnold, and there's no
oof,
crystal ball that would have told you this was coming.
no.
Obviously, Kevin O'Connor and Justin Jefferson make things a little bit easier. And then they have a defense that is just like allowing them to play the first half without the other team scoring at all.
Hmm.
So that's all the security blanket anybody would need to go out there and just ball out. So hats off to Darnold. But what do you think, man? What's the take? What's the hot and heavy on this quarterback
I mean,
room?
yeah, I think you kind of nailed it with Baker and Geno. We shouldn't have been so out on those guys. Like I even traded Baker for JJ McCarthy in a pick during our draft in one of our Superflex dynasties, which I mean could be working out right now if McCarthy didn't get hurt.
True
But
enough.
speaking of McCarthy, the Sam Darnold of it all does make that situation so interesting. Like how are the Vikings going to handle that? Are they going to let Darnold walk or re-sign him and then just have this rookie sit here? Like, I don't know. It seems like I don't know what they're going to do, but right now he is balling out. It's hard to like you said, expect that to happen. But I mean, with the weapons he has and the coach he has, I guess we should have seen it coming. And I know some people were banging the table for that. And now, like, I tried to trade for him for like a second in that same league, but he's just too hot right now. He can't be touched. And then the CJ Stroud of it all, I mean, like Richardson is what it is. Obviously, like he has not played well at all. And there's
Mhm.
even people talking about like not playing him at all and just letting him sit behind Joe Flacco, which maybe would be good, maybe would be bad. I'm not sure. We'll see what he does when he comes back from injury. But CJ Stroud is an interesting one. I mean, he's a top 12 guy, but he was taken in the top five, which I always kind of had like a weird issue with. And now with Nico Collins hurt for 4 weeks, I feel like we're going to see potentially a dip for him too. Because as good as the Texans have been and as good as he has been, he's almost the anti-Fields in the sense that like he hasn't been as good as fan in fantasy as people want him to be, but he's been excellent for the Texans. Now, top 12 QB, I mean, that's not bad. So I'm not saying that he's doing bad, but it's interesting to see him hovering around that part in points per game.
Yeah, they've been oddly successful on the ground, even with like every
Hmm.
running back being out right
Yeah.
now. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's pretty exciting to see what they're gonna end up doing. Maybe, Tank Dell got a slow start. Maybe they can just like, hand the baton off. So we'll
Yeah.
see how it goes.
Yeah, that'd be
I
fun.
don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. Stroud, he just inspires so much confidence and
Hmm.
joy from a spectator's perspective.
Oh, for sure.
But well, should we run through the RBs?
Yeah, let's do it.
The running backs. So just going to start off with your what's up on the season top 12 guys. And this is where you'll see that points per game average being factored in because I've Saquon at number one,
Mhm.
whereas he is actually two on the season long, but he's had the bye. So Saquon's one. Then we got Kamara, Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, Jonathan Taylor, number five. That's kind of surprising to me. Jameer Gibbs at six, David Montgomery at seven,
Jesus.
James Cook. Then you got Jordan Mason, Chuba Hubbard at 10.
Cuba.
Al Aaron Jones at 11, and then Brian Robinson Jr.
Mm.
Coming in at 12. So this is a little different than the quarterbacks that had eight of the top 12 ADP guys on the list. This is only five.
Mm.
Uh, so yeah, obviously we know the names, right? Saquon, Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, Jonathan Taylor, and Jameer Gibbs, all doing pretty well. Um, it's pretty close. You've got three guys. There's Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara, and James Cook that were all top 20 guys. So it's not like the quarterbacks where, most of those guys we mentioned were outside the top 20 quarterbacks that were sneaking in. This
Yeah.
is, you got guys in the middle area that are just, outperforming and really shouldn't be too shocked. We hear those names and maybe we counted those guys out, but they always had the capability in the
Yeah.
past performance to be in the top 12. Um, but then sneaking outside the top 20, you got Demont, who's got four touchdowns on the ground.
Mhm.
We shouldn't be too surprised to see his name on there. We've been, talking about him in the running back longevity episode for being a top 24 back his whole
Whole time.
career. So
Yeah.
that's what's up with him. Um, and yeah, the Brian Robinson, he's at the running back 12. He was drafted at 29. He's got five touchdowns, in as many weeks. That's pretty good. I think that the Jaden Daniels, pulling the defense kind of has to give him a major bump.
Mhm.
So, that's to be expected. But then yeah, you got Chuba. And I know you love to see this. I mean, you've been
Do.
waiting these years. It's going well. He's on what, three games running as a top 10 guy.
Hmm.
The schedule really was asking for him to be successful. So I don't know. I can't figure out. There's a quarterback change. You've got wide receiver injuries. Is this added to it? Jonathan Brooks got to be coming on the field soon.
Hmm.
We're just banking on Chuba.
I mean, for now, he's proven to be. It's not like he's
I'm not
having
worried about
these.
him.
Yeah, I'm not worried. He's to me, he's a start every week type of guy as of now. I mean, once Jonathan Brooks comes back, we'll see. We'll see how to reevaluate that. But as of now, it's not like he's been having these like weird games where he's just having a couple touchdowns but not being efficient. Like he's efficient, he's running well, he's running um super well, and he is just kind of proven that he needs to be at least in an NFL offense. And yeah, when Brooks is here, he'll be splitting time, but I imagine with how successful he's been, they probably aren't in a rush to get Brooks out on the field and kind of let him really heal up and really be the guy they want him to be going forward. And then there's no guarantee that he's going to be fully healthy when he's back on the field. So I think for the foreseeable, Chuba is going to be a reliable piece, as is ditto Jordan Mason.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Chuba's doing 5.8 per carry, which is seventh among running backs right now. It's pretty impressive. And yeah, he was drafted at 42.
Mm,
And then you've got Mason, and I don't know. I don't even know what to say here. So he's ADP 54.
mm,
Obviously, CMC goes down, and then this is just something that,
happens.
happens. The Shanahan offense ready to
Yeah.
go. But like it's Jordan Mason, dude. Like you can't even be mad about it. I was like, there's nothing I can say about this guy that hasn't already been said about tacos. Like everybody
Hmm.
loves him and he's
Hmm.
spicy as hell. You know what I mean? Like let's just keep it rolling. I got nothing to say about the dude. He's awesome. I'm proud of him. Fuck.
No, he absolutely has been awesome. Absolutely. I feel saddened in my heart though, because it should have been Elijah Mitchell getting his resurgence, but never happened. Can't stay on the
Should have been
field.
Trey Sermon, just gotta retain him. Just gotta do it. But he'll get his chance. It's still happening. Well, so then that means there's seven guys that were drafted top 12 that didn't make it. So
Mm.
obviously CMC, hasn't played a snap. That's pretty clear and obvious.
That'll hurt you.
Yeah, I can't really,
It's a
they
bold
don't give you
strategy,
points
Cotton.
for hey, he'll always be that number one ADP. So yeah, another injury messing it up is Pacheco, who is still like 13th on a per game, but he was drafted at 10, and you can't do that when you're not on the field.
Yeah.
Um, just slipping through. Achan's missing a little bit of time, but really that whole offense took a big
As soon as Tua went down. Hmm.
yeah, that's unfortunate, really. You got Brees Hall.
Woof.
Um, yeah, 17th.
What the fuck?
I mean, the words. I bet it was Robert Sala's fault. It's basically, I mean, that's what I think. It's obvious. It's obvious. I
It
mean, he's
must have
got him
been.
out there running
That's why they
in,
fired him.
right. He's like 3 yards per carry. No, you're gone. You're gone. But only 2 touchdowns through 5 weeks on the ground. We need a little bit more Brees to shine through, and maybe it's all coming. Maybe week 6 for the Jets is the resurgence. But Braylon Allen, you've mentioned in the rookie roundup, like every week, he's
Mm.
doing good things. He's got the 50% number of carries as Brees Hall, and that's going to hold you back. You see a similar situation for Bijan, who's the
Yeah.
quarterback 20 or the running back 20.
Which almost baffles me because it seems like Brees Hall is having a worse year than him. Like,
Absolutely. Well,
but he's apparently not.
well, you would think that because Brees Hall has, he's at 3 yards per carry, whereas Bijan's at 4.3, which is a
Hmm.
decently respectable number. He's got 8.4 per reception and a 95% catch rate. He's literally running at Alvin Kamara level efficiencies. He's just not getting that kind of volume.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
it's heartbreaking to see that. Um,
Especially after
basically,
all offseason, all we heard was Raheem Morris talk about, oh, we're gonna use him like Christian McCaffrey. If you have a superstar, you gotta use him. Brah, 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 brah. 12 carries. Fuck out of here.
yeah. And it's cool, dude. I mean, Algier, you can't take anything away from that guy. He's earned whatever
Oh,
he
you can.
gets. Yeah, but we, all right, this will be off air conversation. But I was blown away to see him right there. Really a lot of parallels with Alvin Kamara as far as the production and the efficiency,
Hmm.
and it kind of just bums you out because you can see right there how easy of a leap it is to just utilize a player like that
Yeah.
and make him the core of your offense. But that's not what's happening. No bigs. We'll move on. Could be worse. We got Josh Jacobs, dude. You got anything to tell me about this guy going off at the running back 24?
He's not scoring touchdowns. His first touchdown was this week against the Rams, which is, I mean, kind of what they brought him in to do, and then it just hasn't really been happening. I mean, the two games with Malik Willis, he played well, but like he had what 150 something yards
Mhm.
against the Colts, but no touchdowns. So when you don't score a lot of touchdowns and you don't catch the ball a lot, which is insane because all off season all I heard was that oh actually Josh Jacobs is a better receiver than Aaron Jones. Brr, 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 brr. Okay, well then why don't they throw him the
Boy,
fucking ball?
boy. All
Like
right, I was
so
checking everybody hit something there.
I don't know. So I just don't think he's a pure runner in the sense of like kind of like Nick Chubb, except Nick Chubb will have three touchdown games on a regular basis sometimes, and Josh Jacobs is just not scoring enough.
Yeah, it's really sad. He's definitely has a top receiving game at 27 yards. That's not going to get it done. So, all right, we don't have to, I'm not, he's got all season. He'll figure it out, Just give
Hopefully,
him, yeah, just
good thing we
put
cut
Jones
Aaron
on the back
Jones.
of it. Yeah, gosh. All right. All right. Moving right along. Come on. To Travis Etienne. What up, dude?
Woof.
Yeah. Are you talking about the running back 27 after being drafted in the eighth position? And boy, between you and me, man, we might have gave a little Tank Bigsby shade over the past 18 months or so.
Yeah.
Yikes, man. This guy is doing it big time. He's got 8 yards per carry on 34 carries, just eclipsing the usage and success that Etienne is having on the field. And I love it. I mean, I don't know. I was never a huge Etienne guy. So, you know, being wrong about Tanks Bigsby feels good all of a sudden. So,
That's fair. I was super high on ETN coming into this year, and it has not done well. In fact, our redraft episode, I took Bijan and Etienne in the first two rounds, and built a team off of awesome wide receivers that are now all hurt. So now I'm going to be really hurting in that league with trying to be led by Bijan and Etienne. I'm not as worried about Bijan because, like we said, if he gets an increase in workload, I feel like the numbers will come. 2 weeks ago, he had like a 30-yard touchdown pass called back on a holding call. Like that seems to happen to him a lot. Whereas ETN just looks rough and it
Mhm.
just doesn't look, it looks like there's something funky going on with him.
Yeah, yeah. And some of I remember 2 weeks ago, he's like hanging out without his helmet on in the sideline. And it's like, okay,
What is
I
this?
guess, yeah, like, I guess if the other guy's doing fine, then this is cool. But like, what?
Yeah, what? Why'd you take
Is
this
there
guy
something you
as a
guys want to tell us?
first round pick then?
No,
Like,
man, we can't even talk about that. That's ridiculous. All right. All right. Defensive players are on the rise, man. It's going to
it's
be all
true.
defensive players through the first round picks. Here we go. Um, but yeah, speaking of first round picks, we're in the wide receiver area
Here we are.
where we really highlighted. You did a great job highlighting last week, talking about just the wide receivers and a few weeks ago we talked about the parity and through 3 weeks there were like 32 different guys who had been top 12, and it all really shakes out to be a little wild as we review it. I'm just going to read off top 12, kind of like have been doing. Again, remember, people have missed games but are still doing well. As long as you've played 4 games, this is the average, this is what I'm working with. So Malik Neighbors is number one. Uh, Jamar Chase. Wow. Number two, Nico Collins. Good Lord. Number three, Justin Jefferson. Jaden Reed at 5, Chris Godwin, then Amon-Ra St. Brown at 7, Drake London, then Stephon Diggs, Rasheed Rice, Brian Thomas at 11, and Mike Evans, the hero to us all at number 12. So, I mean, just off the top, this is like Neighbors injured, Nico injured, Rice is injured. It's just kind of crazy. So those three guys are going to open the door for other folks to jump in on this. And then, Texans have two guys on the list. We got Tampa Bay's got two guys on the list. It's just getting feisty. Love to see it. What do we got? One, two rookies only between Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors. So I don't know. It's pretty exciting. Six of the top 12 drafted guys are on the list here. So six guys are not of the top 12. The two rookies are on that list. Stephon Diggs, he was at the 21 range. He really has a chance to even go higher than the 9 status he's currently at.
Yeah, for sure.
Jaden Reed, dude, I mean, wide receiver 36 over here, parked at number 5.
Hmm.
That doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
No, and he's the wide receiver one for the Packers going forward. He is the one that gets the most consistent looks, the most consistent work. He has the rushing ability, and he's just a fucking baller. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, he's you better if you can buy him now. I mean, I don't know if you can, but I
No.
would even say buy him high because I'm all about him as a player, and I think just going forward, he's going to continue. I mean, the games he has with Love are pretty crazy. I mean, he had 13-ish points this week, so nothing wild, but the other weeks he is having like close to 30. So he's just a guy that Jordan Love trusts and that he's going to try to get the ball to at all times.
I'm getting something in my ear. He has what is that? Fewer targets than Dontavian Wicks. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Can't be right. I gotta reread my notes here. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So hats off to him. Rasheed Rice, he was at 30. Obviously we all probably should have done a better job there. But
What
that pretty
sucks
much.
is he's about to miss the whole year and then get suspended probably next year.
Oh, yeah. Well,
We're
maybe
gonna,
it'll be time served, you
oh,
know?
I
Is
don't know
that
that that's how that works.
come
Like,
on,
oh, you
man?
were gonna suspend you now because you're already out for the year.
They should have done that. They should have just been like, he's suspended for 3 games, but then he's on IR for the rest of the season. But yeah, that's it is. I mean, it's crummy for Chiefs fans, but
Hmm.
opens the door. Worthy, we'll see what he does. Juju's heating up. It's going to be pretty cool. But yeah, so six of these guys were fresh. So let's talk about the six guys that coulda, shoulda, didn't make the list. And it all starts at the top, man. CD Lamb
Woof.
is currently, yeah, wide receiver 15. And if you've seen any primetime games, then you probably don't need any explanation on this. The Cowboys are a little slow at it this year. And this just isn't going the way that a lot of us anticipated. I got some season-long bets that really need you to step up, CD Lamb. Let's do this.
I do
Um,
think their schedule gets a little easier, and we could see like a maybe not second half because we're not halfway through, but like a surge here from both Dak and CD.
that would be, eh, I mean, that's fine. If that's what happens, then that's fine. Gotta let it happen. Can't stop it. They've got everything they need to be successful. So if they made it happen, that would be cool, I guess. Whatever. Cowboys, whatever. Damn it. All right, Dolphins. Yeah. Tyreek, drafted number 2, which is weird. Really would have expected him as number 1 on this list, but he's at 29.
Mm.
Not to rehash what we said with the H-Chan conversation, but yeah, Tyler Huntley maybe can heat up, but there were issues with this offense outside of the skill positions that aren't
Hmm.
doing these backup quarterbacks any favors. So let it be, let it be. You got AJ Brown. So he's at 6, but he on the average in game he's actually played, he was number two. So
Yeah.
like he's balling out, just injured. Got to look out for that. Same thing with we'll skip over and then go to Puka Nacua, like injuries, boom.
Mhm.
He's not really doing great. I think he's got one catch before he stopped playing this year. But guys that have been healthy that just have not produced mightily, Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Um, and that one just hurts, man. It's like the combination of like Robert saw his face, and then like Aaron Rodgers and Zach or Garrett Wilson not being on the same page. It was just made, and then Brees Hall's not really running
Mhm.
well. It made Jets games sad. So we need
Yeah.
to break that sadness. And I think the first step, Garrett Wilson to the moon. Let's do it. Let's build the ladder to the moon.
And I mean, they tried to get him really involved this week, but even with 22 targets or something silly, it still was like, man, like he had in PPR leagues, he had like almost 30 points, just by pure volume, but catching
Right.
what 12 passes or whatever it was on 22 targets is not good. Like it's good that he's getting that and kind of what you're saying, let's send him to the moon, so just keep targeting him. But now we think Devontae Adams is going to get there. So is that gonna open him up, or is it just gonna make Rodgers rely on Adams more than Wilson?
I don't know. I think that would break Roger's brain, just the way that he's treating Lazard and the way that he's like, it's pretty obvious that he would like it to be, seamless with Wilson, but it is just not happening on either end. And I cannot
Hmm.
figure out whose fault it is from watching. It's
Mm-hmm.
so anyway, we'll see. It'll be cool. Adams will end up on the Bills, no big deal. But let's see what we got. Marvin Harrison Jr. Really, hard to really know what's going on with rookies. He's at 21. He's had some pop games up and down, but I think it's just gonna take some time. I don't know what to say about Arizona. I love that offense, and I don't think they have to go with one player to be successful,
Mm.
especially McBride's back. Had a big week last week. We've seen James Conner do some crazy stuff. Kyler can pull rabbits out of hats. So I think consistent usage probably makes consistent success. It's going to take a little bit of time here.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
And I guess the man of the hour, the subject matter of the podcast, Devontae Adams, ADP 10, sitting at 22.
Mm.
Raiders, and then yeah, a holdout mid-season or whatever. Yeah, there's nothing to say here about the
Super
way he's
weird.
playing
Yeah.
football.
Hmm.
So I guess we'll just roll
Move
on.
on.
Uh, yeah, to gosh, the biggest heartbreak of my life. Chris Olave with like two catches, 8 yards or whatever. What are we doing? That offense was so explosive the first three
Mhm.
weeks, and now it's like the most predictable sad sack you've ever seen. It's like Alvin Kamara and then Shaheed.
It's been tough watching Olave. I mean, good news, Spencer Rattler is already talking about targeting him with Derek Carr being hurt. Talking about
Spencer,
how
dude.
much he wants to target Olave. We'll see how that goes. But
Pumped
yeah,
about that.
Olave's been super inconsistent and weird. And hopefully they can get him going because I mean, he's been playing well. I mean, PFF has him as a quarter season All Pro, which seems absurd. But
It's good at football,
he's
man.
been playing well, but like I don't know. Has he been playing better than Malik Neighbors or Nico Collins or Justin
No,
Jefferson or
no,
Jaden Reed or
no.
Drake London-ish? Like you could make that argument, I guess, but I don't know. I feel like there were a lot of people that could have been the All-Pro instead of Chris Olave.
Yeah, that's weird. Chris Olave isn't a total package wideout, but he's being misused and he has so much potential. It just
Oh, for
makes my
sure.
heart hurt.
If he could
So,
stop falling down at the 2 yard line on his long bomb touchdowns, that would be cool. Or
dude,
non-touchdowns.
no, that's just how he is. That's it's always going to be like that. It's always he just needs three more of those plays per game, you know.
Yeah,
But
for
that's
sure.
who I mean. Rogers needs an Olave in his life. Then they would be like that'd be insane. I can't even think about it. Ugh,
Mhm.
life. Tight ends.
Tight ends, let's do it.
Okay, I'm ready. So tight ends, yes. As you know, I will list them in order of success. Reality bites. Uh, we got George Kittle, number one. You got Dallas Goddard, number two. Got a rookie in there, Brock Bowers, three. Jake Ferguson holding it down for the Cowboys here. At four, you got Tucker Kraft. Hey, yo.
Woohoo!
Yeah, Trey McBride. All right. Let's see. You got Isaiah Likely, Cole Kmet, Pat Fryermuth at nine, Travis Kelsey at 10. Hey. Kyle Pitts at eight. Let's see. He's at 11. And then you got Dalton Kincaid at 12. Okay. It's too many numbers on the spreadsheet. I can tell you that
It
much.
is dense.
But yes, it's beautiful information. It's just too much of it. So eight of these guys were top 12 drafted, and
Hmm.
you kind of have to expect that with tight ends. There should be less mystery.
Hmm.
Um, but man, we've kind of spent some time discussing it. There's some big letdowns. But before we get into the letdowns, let's talk about the four non-top 12 ADP guys that have made this list. And you got to start with Tucker Kraft. Dude, talk to me, Goose.
He looks good, man, and they definitely have fully transitioned to him being the full-time starter, and he's just so consistent with everything he does. He reached like 20 something miles an hour on his long touchdown this week, and then followed it up with another touchdown. I think I finally was right about the Packers tight end room. Not even right about the player because I was wrong, thinking it would be Luke Musgrave, but that they were gonna use it more. I feel like they've been trying ever since Gutekunst got there, really, with the signing of Jimmy Graham. Didn't work. Robert Tonyan had a big year, then it didn't work. And then they drafted two tight ends, one in Luke Musgrave and one in Tucker Kraft. And then it was okay. They kind of split time the first year, but now Kraft is just that dude. And he just kind of, this is going to sound absurd, and I don't mean that he reminds me of the player that Kelsey is, but in the way that like Kelsey just seems to be open and just do what he's meant to do and do what he's supposed to do right. That's kind of what Kraft does. Like he just is open. It's never flashy. It's never like these crazy. I mean, yeah, he had that long bomb touchdown with a stiff arm in there, so like that's cool. But for the most part, it's just consistency rather than anything nuts.
Yeah, and he's getting the work, man. He's
Hmm.
third in targets on the team. That's a big one. I'm excited. Was he a quarterback at a younger age? That's what all the Kelsey people are going to want to ask you. So
I
just
don't know.
yeah, you're gonna have to check that out and get back to us on it.
All
But
right.
no, I love to see it. I love to see it. Honestly, yeah, I think I was right about that one on the
Yeah,
Musgraves deal. So I won't
you were.
dance in the streets, but ADP 37. So it's great to see a success story. Isaiah Likely, wow, cool. Tight end 18 feels
This this one just shows the volatility of the tight end room because like week one, crazy game. Nothing, crazy game. Like two touchdowns. So now he's the tight end seven or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, seven. So like yeah, that one seems really weird, but also Mark Andrews is dead unless he gets traded.
Yeah, it's kind of rough. You got to look at it like, yeah, three touchdowns is going to hook anybody up in the tight end game. But yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? I don't trust any Ravens that aren't, Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson. So, boom.
Yeah, fair.
Looks like a smart move on my part, of course, because I'm a champion, baby. Likely love him, but like you're saying, it's up and down. If you start him, you're asking to be let down.
Crossing your fingers.
But yeah, I've seen people dropping Mark Andrews on tighter rosters right now. It's kind of
Mhm.
crazy.
It is
Uh,
wild.
Got to do what you got to do. But Cole Kmet, man. He is going off at the tight end eight, drafted at 16, and getting a lot of work off some inconsistency and injuries in the wide receiver room. He got a
Mhm.
pretty big bump when Keenan Allen missed a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But let's talk about it. We got to talk about it. The dude was tight end seven past 2 years. So I don't want to bring up Baker and Gino again, but like maybe we should have just gave
Should
this
have
guy
just
a little
rode with
more
it.
credit. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's hard not to say the same thing about Fryermuth,
Hmm.
who's at 9, was drafted at 15. But there's no one else. There's nobody else in this offense. George Pickens has not really been consistently reliable, and Fryermuth is getting a lot of action, and he's playing with Justin Fields, and he could probably ask Cole Kmet what that means. It means good things,
Yeah.
and again, he missed some time last year, but he was the tight end 8 in 2022 season
Hmm.
long. So I don't know. I was in on him
Yeah, yeah.
a
You were
lot more
kind of on
than
that team.
Komet. So
Hmm. That's
um,
fair.
it's good to see some success. But with the success of these four, we have to discuss four folks that could have, should have, and were projected to be on this list that just simply aren't. It's clear that we don't have to talk about Mark Andrews, right? Uh,
No, yeah, we've talked about him.
yeah, he's at the 30th ranking spot and per game, not great. But one that it hurts is Sam Laporta. Where are we
Mm.
at?
What is the deal there?
Yeah, so he's going off at tight end 19. And keep in mind, this is per game, so the bye week isn't hurting him. He's still not doing well
Mhm.
when in regards to all that. But he only has 14 targets, no touchdowns, and he was a big touchdown guy last year. So
Hmm.
he's not keeping up with that, which I guess regression is obviously coming for a tight end that scores that many touchdowns.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's not been through the air as much with them, and I think the emergence of Jameson Williams is kind of hurting him when it comes to in a pinch. It was always Sam Laporta last year. Now they have that Williams connection. I just think he's going to need to heat up, and this team necessarily doesn't need him to be kick ass all the time to be
Hmm.
successful, especially the way Demont's playing. Um, I don't know when you got a 1-2 punch like that. Why even risk it? Putting the
Yeah.
ball in the air.
Yeah, and then I mean, Jameson Williams was kind of finally being at least mildly what they expected him to be is kind of affecting him too. I just feel like somebody's always getting the touchdowns this year where Laporta was that guy last year, like you're saying, and there's just not a lot of room for him right now, and hopefully they can kind of heat that up. But it'll just take a few big weeks for him to be back in this top 12, just
Oh
given what
yeah.
the tight ends are. But yeah, it's still not great.
Yeah, but someone who's going to need more than a couple of big weeks to get back in is Evan Ingram, dude. Like,
Yeah.
whew, Heartbreak
It's been
City.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's just injuries. Not much to say on that.
Yeah.
So, but David Njoku, man, this kind of speaks more to the Browns than it does
Hmm.
to Njoku. But he was being drafted as a tight end 10, camping out at 25. Um, so I think he's missed some time as well, so that doesn't help, but it's hard
Yeah.
to really trust anybody in a orange hat, I guess.
That's
I
fair.
don't know that,
There's
I don't know
not
what that
until Nick
means.
Chubb gets back. Let's go.
That's true. Yeah. But I don't know.
Maybe.
That's kind of
Hopefully.
been the ADP versus reality.
Yeah.
The only major things that well, I've got the Dynasty world pulled up here, and the only major things I'm seeing out of that is Justin Herbert. He's a top 12 Dynasty startup quarterback. He's at
Hmm.
26, and that's not really going really well. But the rest of it mostly lines up for a single year ADP. Um, Jeez, pretty cool stuff.
That was cool. It was interesting. This one. I always like ADP versus reality. It's a good episode.
Me
Not to pat
too. There's
ourselves on the back, but
it's cut and dry, dude.
yeah.
And I think the way we're doing it, we're probably going to end up back here at week 10,
Hmm.
and then week whatever we'll do the end of the year. So I loved it, but got to send you off the way we always do with the
Mm.
box score boomers, and getting a little unconventional this week, I got to get in there and get the raw facts, it's not all
Hmm.
first, second round guys. I got to get you ready for those third rounds. And that's where the boomers action's really coming in. So, for week 6 of the college year, I'm coming at you with the tight end. So, Oronde Gadsden the
Okay.
second. Yes,
Okay. What a name.
Oronde. Yeah, I know. He's amazing. A tight end out of Syracuse, the Orange Men. They had a great game, winning 44-41 over UNLV. And it was a really good game for him. No score, but he did have 10 catches for 142 yards, putting him in eighth as far as receiving on the week. That's pretty good for a tight end.
Yeah.
Um, I like this guy. It looks good. He's skinny. He's a junior, 6'5", 236. So he's kind of, got a little slim receiver tight end size profile to him. Um, but I gotta give him a little bit of credit. He missed some time last year, most of last year, but in 2022, he had 969 yards and two or six scores. And he's doing pretty well so far this year. He's got 3 games over 90 yards. So the other 2 games, he had like 2 or less catches and under 20 yards. So he's kind of boomer bust, but he's really hitting pretty well. And I pull up the PFF big board thinking like there's no way, this guy's probably not on there, right?
Hmm.
But he is on there. He's 86th. He's the third tight end. So
Wow.
it was great to kind of pick him. I go through the criteria on these top guys, and he was a junior, ACC school, looking pretty good for a tight end. And then I see, hey, this is a guy that's probably going to be, you know, day 2 pick in the NFL draft. So keep the name Oronde on your mind.
Alrighty. Will do.
So you got to do what you got to do. Joining him in the week 6 box score boomers is Desmond Reed, who is a running back out of Pittsburgh. And just bear with me, Christian. You're going to hate this one. So I
Okay.
got your back. But they had a 34-24 win over North Carolina
Uh-huh.
last weekend, and he did great. He did great. He had 18 carries for 55 yards, no touchdowns, 3.1 yards per carry, and that's just great. I think that he deserves to be mentioned on the box score boomers because he is a junior and he's 5'8", 175 pounds. He is not on the PFF big board at
Hmm.
all. And yeah, I mean, it's just heartbreaking. You want to know why I'm talking about him, don't you?
Got to be some receiving work.
Boom, dude. Yeah, he got some breeze on that stat line. Not those 55 rushing yards, but the 155 receiving
Woof.
yards he put
Okay.
up. Yeah, pretty good. Second game over 100 yards receiving. And this year he's at 322 yards and 4 scores in the receiving game. That's the second best running back as far as yards in the receiving game of all college football. Pretty impressive. And don't let this 55-yard game fool you. I'm telling you, he's got 2 rushing games over 140 yards this year. So doing pretty good. He's got over 800 yards on the ground the past 2 years and
Hmm.
13 scores last year. So 13 is a big number for a guy that's 175 yards and also a passing savant. And then keeping in mind that the past 2 years is 800 yards on the ground, you have to think 2022, he did that 800 yards while sharing the field with Izzy Abandakanda in
Hmm.
Pittsburgh. So
Gotcha.
the guy's feisty. I know he's small, um, but I think the small game is coming back. And if these small wideouts can do it, I think a pass catching running back of that size that shows a little bit of burst in the ground game also has a chance. So I'm keeping an eye on Desmond Reed
Okay.
for those reasons. But a
Well,
little unconventional this week.
I imagine he's going to have to make our 2025 March Madness tournament at the very least,
Oh,
if
of
you're in on
course.
him now already. So, but yeah, I like the unconventionality of it. That was cool. Unconventionality, is that a word? I don't know. It is
Tis
now.
now.
But yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to keep an eye on these guys, as I always do on the box score boomers. So this will be fun, getting us prepared for our big off season next year. But until then, and until next week, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
Hell yeah, we'll see you around. World Champions Royals. Let's do it. I don't know. I
Woo!
don't know what I'm doing.
I took a lease out on your